Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked, blissed? Dr. Shealy, are you blissed?
Yes.
And we both just made it. Dr. Shealy, I just want to tell our class very quickly that you are our most senior instructor. And I don't think that...
In other words, I'm older than everybody else.
Well, that's not what I meant, but here's what I did mean. 3 decades of radio broadcasting. I don't think any other broadcaster, any other medical doctor broadcaster can say that. Surgeon of the Year. That's pretty hard to beat. You have more patents, about 10, is that correct?
15.
15 patents. You've written over 30 books, is that right?
38.
30. Boy, time flies. And you are on the radio and YouTube more than any other broadcaster. So that absolutely qualifies for most senior instructor, whether on USA Prepares or not. Dr. Shealy, I have the call screen in front of me, and a very dear friend from the 1960s is on the line. His name is Pat. And Pat contracted COVID, and he has some questions for you about what to do. Welcome, Pat.
Hey, Vin, how you doing? Hey, Doctor, it is an honor and pleasure to talk to you.
Great.
Well, Pat, go ahead.
Okay, I'm in about my 6th week of recovery after being hospitalized from what they referred to as COVID pneumonia. I was given remdesivir every day and steroids in the hospital. And when I got out, haven't been taking any sort of medication at all. My lungs are slowly getting back to where they need to be. I'm a professional singer and hope they get all the way back. But I just wondering if might be something I should be doing or taking. I haven't taken any real medication since I left the hospital.
Well, no medications. However, there's certain things you need. Number one is vitamin D, as in David 3.
Yes.
50,000 units. And I would take that 3 days in a row, and after that, once a week. Secondly, an excellent B complex, 100 milligrams a day.
Uh-huh.
Third, at least 4,000 milligrams of vitamin C, 2,000 milligrams of something called MSM, that's methylsulfonomethane, and 30 milligrams a day of astaxanthin. It's a form of vitamin A, ASTAXANTHIN. Those are the best overall immune boosting techniques that I know. Now, because of the steroids especially, your DHEA will have been very, very low. And anybody over age 50 is going to be low anyway. In addition, I would use Fire Bliss once a day, and magnesium lotion, 2 teaspoons on the skin twice a day. That combination should, within a month, really get you back to normal.
Oh, boy, that is great news. Can I ask you what that Fire Bliss is?
It is a mixture of essential oils. You'll have to get that from my website because, we make it. But it's totally safe. It comes with a photograph that shows you where to press on the points.
Great. I will do that and hopefully get back to singing and annoying people before too long.
Good on you.
Pat.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Pat.
Thank you, Vince.
Pat, well, you're certainly welcome, Pat. And Pat, let me just recapitulate for you. I wrote down what Dr. Shealy said. So, vitamin D3, that's 50,000 units per day, 3 days in a row. Now, when you buy vitamin D3, you may find that it comes in 1,000 unit gelatin capsules. You may find it in 5,000 per capsule. If you find it in 5,000, that means you have to take 10 of them per day. So what he said was the right number according to his recommendation, but it may seem like you're going to be taking way more than you should. But that's his recommendation, 50,000 units per day, 3 days in a row, then 50,000 units thereafter one time a week. So you might be able to find it in a 50,000 unit capsule. You might find it in a 5,000, but that's vitamin D3. Then vitamin B complex, 100 milligrams per day. Then 4,000 milligrams of vitamin C per day and 2,000 milligrams of MSM. Now you can get the vitamin C and the MSM combined in that ratio. I'm just looking at it right now because I take it every day. Exactly in that ratio in a product that Dr. Shealy has. It's his formula, and it's called Dr. Shealy's Youth Formula. I take this every day. And by the way, what he recommends for you, I do as well. So Dr. Shealy's Youth Formula, it's available on his website, and I'll give you that in a minute. So that's 4,000 milligrams of vitamin C and 2,000 milligrams of MSM per day. Then 30 milligrams of vitamin A, which is astaxanthin, ASTHAXIN. And that's 30 milligrams per day. And then he wants you to boost your DHEA by using Fire Bliss, F-I-R-E, space B-L-I-S-S. And that's Dr. Shealy's innovation. And he wants you to use that once a day. And then magnesium lotion, which is another one of his innovations. He wants you to apply that twice a day. And so you can get the magnesium lotion, the Fire Bliss, the Dr. Shealy's Youth Formula, all from his website. And the website is called Norm Shealy, N-O-R-M, as in Norman, Shealy, SHEALY.com. Dr. Shealy, what about, there's another supplement that I take of yours, and it's called Eco Green Iron-Free Essentials. Also, it's known as Dr. Shealy's Essentials.
That if he took 4 of those a day, it would give him the B complex that I mentioned.
Okay. So, Pat, for the B complex, you can substitute 4 of Dr. Shealy's Essentials. Now, that is his formulation of a multivitamin. Now, I've tried over, my 60, almost 70 years, I've tried lots and lots of supplements. Right here in the studio, I have his Youth Formula, his Dr. Shealy's Essentials, and I make sure that I take his because I think they work better. I've tested them myself, and I believe they're better. So that's on his website. Pat, do you have other questions for Dr. Shealy?
The magnesium lotion, is that taken orally or is that applied?
No, that's on the skin.
It is.
I just put it on my buttocks and pull up my shorts.
Okay. All right. That's
Pat,
great.
And I do that. I do that as well. And Dr. Shealy, would you explain why magnesium lotion is important, the deficiencies that people have, and why
magnesium is deficient in our food supply. 80% of Americans are deficient, and it's imported in 350 different metabolic processes. And it is infinitely better absorbed through the skin than it is through the mouth.
Aha. I was going to ask that, yeah. Okay. Anyway, okay, you see, you do apply that to the skin then. That's great. Well, thank you so much. That is going to gives me some hope.
Oh, yeah. Lots of hope.
Dr. Shealy.
Thank you.
Pat, I'm looking forward to having you on the air. Can you just tell us a few of the greats that you have played with, so our class can understand kind of who you are?
Well, I'm actually in a lot of people are so old that your audience probably doesn't remember them. But I've been performing for close to 50 years now, and I am getting ready to. I'm actually in Asheville, North Carolina, getting ready to record my 7th album, and I'm hoping to get some more movie credits and television credits on that, which I've done in the past, and just hoping to stay out and share my music with as many people as possible. And that's what I.
Okay.
That's what I.
And will you have a couple hours for us on the radio? After you're done recording and you recover a little more.
I would love to. That would be great. Yes, I would. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, probably.
Anything else, Pat?
That's all. I'm really, as you can imagine, it's really scary when nobody has any answers for this. How long is it going to last? Am I going to be okay? And I know too many people who aren't okay, who did not make it through this COVID thing, and it's kind of scary. And I just, now that I am in recovery, I just want to be able to get back and do my job and sing. And it's encouraging after talking to Dr. Shealy that I'll be able to do that.
Pat, do you have any words about whether this is real or not? COVID? Yeah,
it's real, and it's a word that I just can't. My phraseology can't be used on the radio because it angers me that people feel that this is some sort of a political game or taking away your rights or something like that. It's really silly. It's a serious game, and I bury too many friends to even to belittle it or to poo-poo it. It's real.
Pat, you said something to me that was absolutely striking. You said this on the phone. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you said something akin, and I'm paraphrasing, that every week you seem to find more friends to cross off your phone book.
Yeah, that's become a kind of a weekly ritual that I don't really enjoy doing, but it's I don't know, it's depressing, and we knew it was
Pat,
coming. We would get to the stage, but want to hit as many of them as I can.
Can you tell us very briefly of our boyhood friends? We spent a lot of time together, starting in the early '60s. Anyway, do you know how many of our friends have died from COVID?
I don't know. I know of. I couldn't say from back then. I don't keep too close. The few people that I do keep close to are all okay, but I've just got. I've met so many people in this industry in my job that it's just mind-boggling how many. There were 3 people in the hospital that I was in the hospital with that didn't make it out, and while I was in the emergency room in the hospital, there were 3 different funeral homes that came and made pickups. So it's real and it's killing people, and I hope we get over it.
Pat, thank you. Yeah, Pat, thanks so much for being with us. Pat, can you share with our class how you contracted or how you might have contracted COVID-19?
It's I was real careful because I'm around so many people, and I wasn't performing at all. I did a couple of outside shows, and I tried to trace it, and I absolutely could not trace where I got it from. It could have been at 7-Eleven getting a cup of coffee. It could have been in the grocery store. It could have been, but I wasn't working. I wasn't social, or I wasn't really working out in the clubs anymore. So it's a crapshoot. You really don't know. And I was taking precautions, and you kind of lighten up every once in a while, and just when you let your guard down, that's what happens.
Yeah. Dr. Shealy, do you have any questions for Pat?
No, I give him blessings.
God bless you. Thank you, Doctor.
Pat, one last question, if I may, Pat.
Yeah.
Can you describe what the environment is like now? I know that you play in nightclubs, you play on stage, you play out in the open air. You've been at Yankee Stadium. You've opened games for the New York Yankees. And I'll share who you are, when you're on again with me, and we'll go through the music aspect of this. But
Sure.
Can you describe what the environment is like now in terms of playing in nightclubs, etc.? Are they still open? Are they closed? What is that like?
It's been a year of absolute it's upheaval. The whole industry. Well, everybody's industry is showing it, but this industry, we have no idea when. Restaurants are opening, but theaters and venues like that, where I do most of my shows, it's going to take a long time for that to come back. We're watching the Broadway theater group. They don't have a date yet when they're going to come back, and I do about 50% of nightclubs and 50% theater shows. And those theater shows, they're making adaptations now where they're limiting the audience to like 150 tables, which is way less than a quarter of the capacity. And those are going okay, but it's really tough to survive. That theater industry is really getting killed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what we all thought, but we wanted to hear it firsthand from someone who is actually at ground zero. Pat, in terms of booking a large venue, a concert hall kind of a venue, I know that we've had expos, and we have to book them 9 months to a year in advance. And then there's the publicity and all the things that go with having an event. Do you think that's going to push it out like another year?
I really do. I really think it is because, first of all, it's getting the public back into being comfortable. They've been a year of being afraid, and it's going to take a long time to be comfortable to sit next to somebody in a theater and to buy a ticket and to just throw caution to the wind anymore because there's so much. It's just so much unknown about this. Nobody knows what new strains are coming in and things like that we just don't know about. So I don't know that it's going to be back this year. We're hoping for. My daughter works for a major country music artist, and they've booked shows and canceled shows and booked shows and canceled shows and booked them and canceled them 3-4 times already, and now they're not booking them anymore. They're just waiting. Big stadium shows, things like that, because nobody knows.
Can you describe your symptoms?
I lost my taste and smell for about 2 days, and really was just sick, lethargic, and couldn't get out of bed for about 2 days. And I contacted an old friend who works in a naval hospital, and he had told me to keep an eye on my blood oxygen level, and when that dropped is when I went into the hospital, and that's when the shortness of breath started happening, and it never got better. I was 10 days in the hospital watching my blood oxygen level, and just, it wouldn't get better. And then I finally got it up over 90, and they released me, but I'm still on oxygen.
Pat, do you want to stay with us? Plus, if you'd like to talk to Dr. Shealy, ask him your medical questions, 866-582-9933. 866-582-9933. And I know we don't take calls most days, but Dr. Shealy's he's in the front of the classroom, and he's ready for your questions should you have them. 866-582-9933. Dr. Shealy, it was great. It was great chatting with Pat and bringing back those boyhood memories. And I want to share something with you. Here at our house, one of our boys refers to my friends as your boyfriends or your girlfriends. And that's, and so I walked into the kitchen and I smelled fish cooking, and he was baking fish. And I said, I smell fish. And he said, yeah, and your boyfriend wants you to eat it. And he was talking about you. So I just wanted to share that with you. And some of us are masculine enough to, call our friends boyfriends and girlfriends, and that because that's what we used to call them when we were younger. But Dr. Shealy, Captain John Reagan was on with us on Friday, and I'm not saying anything out of school. He said this on the air. He said that he had a nosebleed and he couldn't stop it, and he ended up in the hospital. And they took his blood pressure, and it was higher than the machinery could measure. And he thinks he set a record, and they estimated it to be 300 over 165.
Wow.
So you think he set a record?
Well, I would think so. I've never seen anything above, I don't know, a little over 200.
Mm-hmm. Well, what would you recommend that he do to bring that down? Now, I think he didn't tell me exactly, but I have a feeling they put him on medications, stat, to bring that down. And so he's got it under control. But other than medications to bring it down.
Autogenic training.
Okay.
I'd have him do that absolutely continuously for 3 episodes. And I give you 90% chance that would have brought it back down to near normal.
Okay. Now, are there dietary issues that could drive up blood pressure sky high?
Magnesium chloride, of course, and of course the essentials multivitamin mineral, and taurine, taurine, up to 2,000 milligrams 3 times a day. That works 90% of the time. Okay.
So, taurine, 2,000 milligrams 3 times a day. And that was one of the questions that I had for you. And that's for reducing blood pressure, right?
Right. And anxiety and et cetera as well.
Okay. How long does it take for the taurine to take effect?
With that degree of blood pressure, I might take 6,000 all at once, and it should work within an hour. But under ordinary circumstances, 2,000 3 times a day, and you got to take it with the B complex and the magnesium, but that should work within a day.
Okay, with B complex and magnesium, and that was one of the questions that I had for you about taking supplements. So, for example, we have talked on the air. You've mentioned taking your youth formula. For me, 6 grams or 6,000 milligrams or 8,000 milligrams per day. Now, is it better to equally space it during the awake time, or is it better to have like little peaks so you take it less often but higher concentrations?
I think it's better to space it out.
Okay. And that's what I've been doing. I try to, I figure out how many hours I'm going to be awake, and I space it. And sometimes when I wake up in the middle of the night, like, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll just take a Dr. Shealy's Essentials, and I'll take a youth formula at the same time. And also I'll take a turmeric curcumin complex. Do you think that's acceptable for someone who has inflammation?
Absolutely.
Okay. And what is it about turmeric curcumin complex that is anti-inflammatory? Do you have a feel for that?
Well, what it's about, I don't know. I do know it is a natural, long-standing Ayurvedic Indian medicine, and is known as anti-inflammatory.
Okay. Now, when you in our class take vitamin C, the youth formula or a multivitamin, and turmeric, curcumin. Should we be taking that with food, without food, with a lot of water, with just a half a glass of water? How should we consume it?
Well, if I was taking it without food, I would take it with a glass of water. I don't think it matters whether you take it with or without food.
Okay. How about for those who are on other medications? There are people who are on all kinds of medications. Should they space it out? Meaning, like, alternate, let's say they get up at, I'm just going to pick a time, 8 o'clock in the morning. They get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and they are supposed to take, whatever med that's been prescribed, and they feel they absolutely have to take it. So they take that. Should they take their youth formula and the Dr. Shealy's Essentials and the taurine and et cetera at the same time, or should they space it?
In that case, I would, yes.
Okay. And what about thyroid meds? Should they be taken first, with a large glass of water and then wait a half hour, or just take them all, take the supplements with that?
I think it's okay to take it all at the same time.
Okay. What is the, I see we have a call on hold and Jason hasn't answered it yet, but, so I think our caller can hear me. So just stand by, just stay there, and Jason will pick up the phone and put you on the call screen. But just stay with us, and we'll be with you. Dr. Shealy, I heard something that I couldn't believe today. Normally I have the clock radio with the red LED display away from on my head, and I get up and I have it set to the buzzer, this Panasonic radio from 30 years ago has this annoying tone. And it's designed to annoy you. It's not designed to be pleasant. It's designed to wake you up. And I can't stand it so much. And you told me years ago that I could train myself to wake up. Now, I literally can wake up a minute before that darn thing goes off. Whenever I have it set, for the regular time that I get up in the morning, I know that's going to go off. And I have it set just in case. But I turn it off before it goes off because I program myself to do that. But today I decided to listen to what's on the radio. Now normally I don't do that. And so I tuned to a heavy, a large station that's broadcasting FM in our local area. And they had a commercial that I was stunned. I've never heard a commercial for hospice before, but this was focused on hospice. And they're talking about living in the moment, and you can choose them as your hospice. And they say, we're not going to extend your life. We're not going to prolong your life, but we're here for you. Do you think that we have devolved to the point where we're now advertising,
a place to die?
Yes.
A place. I don't know what to say. I find it hilarious, and I would not be interested.
Right. Well, I just need to say, so those of you who might be in that field, if you want to advertise on USA Prepares, it's not going to happen. I actually can put my foot down about what commercials air on USA Prepares broadcast time. Now, they're not our commercials. They are the network's commercials. I don't own them. I don't get any compensation. Nobody at USA Prepares gets compensated. But what I can tell you is that if I find some commercials that I don't like, that are not in concert with what we're doing here, and I find offensive, they don't air more than a couple times. And when I catch it, it's over. So I just want to let you know that there's no need to call GCN and try to get on USA Prepares if you're advertising hospice. Okay, I have Alan in Indiana on the call screen. Alan, thank you for being patient and waiting while we got connected.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
5 by 5.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Shealy, probably about 2 months ago, you mentioned about MSM was good for vitamin C, to help absorb vitamin C.
Right.
And then you mentioned that people over 50, that MSM did not help with circulation. And you mentioned another supplement Could you remember what that was?
Probably Nitro Extreme, NITROXTREME. It increases your nitric oxide, and that's good for circulation, yes.
Where can you get it from?
Well, if you go to my website, you'll find a link up at the top. Or you can actually, we can't advertise it on our website, but you can actually call the web, and we do stock it at our store. But you can sign up as a distributor to get it sent to you, or you can buy it directly on the phone.
Right. Okay.
Alan, I'd like to add a comment about Nitro Extreme. If you have the time. Do you have 2 minutes for a little bit of discussion about Nitro Extreme?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Years ago, we had meetups, USA Prepares meetups, and we had them every week. Some of them are on Mondays, some Fridays. And Dr. Shealy was going to be at one of them, and we announced that he would be there, and he would be doing a clinic, a blood pressure clinic, and we were overwhelmed, literally wall to wall. People got there an hour and a half early, and we held these at a restaurant. We literally filled up every booth, standing room only. I mean, it was packed. And Dr. Shealy was teaching us about blood pressure and the specific product called Nitro Extreme. And Dr. Shealy, do you remember that lady who came in with blood pressure so high? She was trying to decide whether she was going to go to the emergency room or see you at the restaurant. Do you remember that, Cal?
Yep.
Can you share the rest of that story, please?
Well, I don't remember all the details, but I do remember that it brought her blood pressure down significantly.
And so she did not go to the emergency room. I mean, her blood pressure was sky high. And I'm thinking like, maybe, 200 over a high number on, the lower end.
Right.
But it was really, really high.
100, yeah.
Yeah, it was really high. It was dangerously high. And so Dr. Shealy gave her Nitro Extreme right then and there. She sat down and relaxed. And within, 15, 20, 30 minutes, she was way, way better and did not have to go to the emergency room. And he didn't do it with just her. He did it with everyone who wanted their blood pressure tested. And when we come back, Dr. Shealy, from this break, would you tell us about what the results were with that whole restaurant? Plus, Dr. Shealy's with us, Senior USA Prepares Instructor, Medical Doctor. Alan in Indiana's with us and had some questions. Dr. Shealy was telling us about this clinic that we had at a restaurant, and it was packed. I mean, literally packed. There were 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 people in queue at a time waiting to see Dr. Shealy in the booth that he had at the restaurant where he was taking blood pressure measurements and dosing Kyani Nitro Extreme. Dr. Shealy, what were the results? Do you remember offhand what percentage of the patients had what results?
I remember that. I don't remember that night as well as the overall study because I continued it later. But over 70% of people with hypertension on drugs or not had their blood pressure controlled. Now, in general, up to 3 antihypertensive drugs control hypertension only 45% of the time. But the Nitro Extreme does it 75% of the time.
Yeah, and I think the number, if I remember correctly, back then was between 70 and 80%. So my memory is in sync with yours. Alan, and these are drops. These, you would take about 15 drops of this liquid per time. Now, Dr. Shealy may recommend a different amount. Do you want to discuss that with Dr. Shealy so he can give you the right dosage for your condition?
Yes. I'm actually 77 years old, and my blood pressure is normal to low, and when I'm at rest, my pulse beat is probably 60 a minute. And would it hurt me to take it, or should I, in other words, I don't have a problem with blood pressure.
Well, I haven't seen it lower blood pressure below normal, and it does increase your energy level and your libido. So it's worth considering.
Okay. Seems like the weather has broken, in Indiana. It's above 30 degrees. Springtime with tomato plants. What I do when I buy tomato plants, I'll snip the bottom leaves and get the stem to grow up at least 10 inches tall. And then I take the whole plant and I lay it down and bury the stem and have just the tree leaves sticking up. And that whole stem will root and you get a stronger plant.
That's an interesting concept.
Yeah. And then also for cleaning air conditioner coils, Dow Tub and Tile Cleaner is a white foam scrubbing bubbles. And I spray that in the air conditioner coil, and it actually pushes the dirt out from the coil before you wash it.
Clever.
Yeah.
Alan, I have a question about that. Now, those coils are either all aluminum, the tubes are aluminum and the fins are aluminum, or
Yes.
the tubes are copper and the fins are aluminum, depending on the manufacturer and the age of it. You know, the older ones were copper and aluminum rather than all aluminum. Do you find that there's any loosening of the connection, the mechanical connection of the fins to the refrigerant tubes?
I haven't found that problem, no.
Okay. How about oxidation of any of the aluminum fins or tubes from the use of this spray?
Actually, it cleans the aluminum bright, shiny, and then you rinse it off, so there's no problem. Okay.
Well, you answered my questions because I was concerned about the corrosion. Now, what I do is a little bit different. The outside units I hose off with a garden hose regularly, so because of all the dust that's in the air out here in the farm, so I get the dust off the outside coils. The inside coils, what I do is I take one of those Walmart type spray bottles, I mix it with Dawn or Palmolive, and I spray it on there, and I use what's called a chip brush, which is what a machinist would use to remove little chips of metal from a lathe or drill press or something like that. And I go in between mechanically, use that in between the area I just sprayed, and then I rinse it off with a spray of water. So that's how I do it. But I think you got a great way of doing that. That's a great tip, actually. And the tomatoes, very interesting. I do something a little bit differently. I dig a deep wide hole, and I bury it I bury the root and the stem all the way to the first leaves, but I don't take the bottom ones off. But that's a great idea because I can go deeper if I go sideways. So how deep do you go with the stem and the root when you go sideways?
Basically 2 inches under. In other words, you have the root in a small pot. Mm-hmm. So I take it out of the pot, and I just dig a small trench, lay the root down, and then lay the stem down and bury it maybe an inch deep.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Alan, we're going into the top of the hour commercials. Do you want to stay with us? Do you have any other medical questions or suggestions or comments that you'd like to hear?
I'm good right now. I'm good.
Alan,
thank you.
Alan, thank you for calling and being with us today and sharing your expertise. Dr. Shealy and I will be right back after top of the hour commercials. And if you'd like to call us, we'll pay for the call. 866-582-9933. 866-582-9933. Everyone all set? Cocked, locked, blissed? Hour number 2 of USA Prepares with our most senior instructor, Dr. Norman Shealy. He and I have been broadcasting about 10 years together. He was the first regular instructor to be with us. Thank you, Dr. Shealy.
Hey,
I've got a list of questions here, and Pat mentioned that his oxygen saturation was down, and that's when that triggered him going to the hospital for treatment for COVID/pneumonia. Dr. Shealy, I'm looking at eBay right now, and for $6 and change, you can buy a fingertip pulse oximeter, and it will measure your heart rate. It will measure your oxygenation for just over $6, shipping included. Do you recommend that people get one of those fingertip type tools? I have one. I keep one with me.
Well, it is one of my things that I use here in the office because if there's any question whatsoever, that answers. I mean, I don't know any other way of measuring your oxygen saturation so easily.
Mm-hmm. And literally, class, think of it like a kind of like a clothespin, but it's fatter, and it's probably about, let's say 2 inches long, about 1.5 inches wide, and you press one end of it, it opens up its little jaws. It has a very smooth surface on the inside, and you just let it rest on it clamps onto your finger. There's virtually no pressure, just enough so it doesn't slide off, and it starts counting your heartbeats, and it measures your oxygenation. No finger sticks, no bleeding. It's non-invasive at all, and it has a display with 3 features. One is a bar graph that goes up and down with each beat of your heart, and it will read the oxygenation and your heart rate. Dr. Shealy, for most people, what would be the range of oxygenation that you'd like to see?
Well, it could be 97 to 99%.
Okay.
If it gets below 90,
mine falls within that range.
It gets down to 95, I'm a little bit worried, but when it gets down below 95, definitely that's not good. Now, I mean, I've had people down to 75.
Okay. And is there a threshold if someone's at 97, almost all the time, and then goes down to 94, and then repositions it, puts it back on the finger, it's back to 97. So maybe it was a read error from this device based on how it was positioned on the fingertip. Would you be concerned about that, or would you say it's a read error?
I wouldn't worry too much unless you feel short of breath.
Okay. Now, so when someone feels, and we're talking about like Pat when he called, when someone feels short of breath, at what level would you say, they've lost their sensation of taste, they've lost their sensation of smell, their oxygenation rate is, right now mine's at 98. At what percent oxygenation would you say they ought to consider going to the emergency room if they suspect COVID?
Well, I'd be concerned if 80 for sure. That would be
88, did you say?
Emergency room, 80%.
80%, 80. Okay. All right. What about 90?
No, I would just take a few deep breaths and see if it brings it up.
Okay. There are a number of people who have jobs, and they are employed by the company. And companies are now saying you will be tested. You will be tested for COVID-19, or you're not working here anymore. For those faced with that decision, that's a difficult decision. Do you have any concerns about the nasal test being a transmitter of another disease?
I don't think the testing is a worry. I think the vaccines are a worry, but not the testing for it.
Okay. There have been some articles on the internet about you could be setting yourself up for nano type delivery systems with the nasal swab. Do you think that's a possibility?
I honestly don't know. I mean, everything about this thing is so controversial. Okay. There's nothing, not a single so-called fact that hasn't been disputed by one or more people.
Okay. So what I thought, since we are in the solutions business here at USA Prepares, what I was thinking is if someone is faced with that decision, meaning lose the job and then maybe the house and the car through, mortgage payments and car notes and things like that, and they are forced to take this nasal swab, is there another alternative? Is there a blood test that would be preferable?
Yes and no. I mean, they're said to be, but I don't know how accurate they are. I don't trust anything. You can't mention anything which I'll say yes unequivocally, except that it's poison.
Okay. Okay. Then how about this? So let's say someone yields and says, all right, I'll take the darn test. And and it's going to be one of those nasal tests. But they want to be prepared to minimize any potential, should there be any. And they bring with them a nasal spray bottle, one of those, 1.5 ounce spray bottles of saline solution, sterilized saline solution. And they've mixed a few drops of, let's say 100 part per million colloidal silver in there. They shake it up. They've got it in their pocket. They take the nasal test. The nurse is done swabbing, and then in goes the nasal spray, blow the nose, and flush it out. What do you think about that?
I think it's almost certainly safe and could be universal. It could be helpful.
Okay. Is there anything that would be better than that for a flush? Should there be some kind of a delivery system for the mucus membranes?
I like just plain old Argentin 23, which is direct silver, colloidal silver.
Okay, so just spray colloidal silver in.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a concentration in mind that you would recommend?
Well, Argentin 23 is whatever it is my standard recommendation of colloidal silver. I don't remember the percentage. I just know one I've recommended for 20 years.
Okay. I will look that up and help our class. ARGENTA. Am I spelling it right?
ARGENTYA, I think. Argentin, TYA.
Okay. All right. I'm doing that right now. In the meantime, Arjun in the Garden State. Welcome. You're on with Dr. Norm Shealy.
Hey, Vincent, and hey, Dr. Shealy. I was, so I was actually, recently I was coming back from India, and they mandated that you have to take a COVID test. And while I was buying the ticket, so they said no, you cannot, no, you don't, they didn't write anything. And once I reached the airport, they said you have to take the test and then only you can fly. And the test take 6 hours to get done. So they put me out of the airport. They had the booth centers there. And so I took the test, and then I moved my flight to the next day, and then next day I came. So the thing is that even if we think about systems are crumbling here, in other countries, systems are quite bad, they are even worse now. So I mean, when they put me out of the airport, I tried to go in to actually tell them this thing. So they didn't let me again in the airport. And the thing is they gave me 2 numbers. Nobody was picking those numbers. So I called US United Airlines phone numbers, and that's how they helped me out. But so what I was calling about was about gyms. Right now there is a gym which is close to my place, and what they are doing social fitnessing, and they are having people one machine apart, and you have to have a mask while you do the workout, and you have to have your temperature taken when you are going in, and you cannot use any of those showers, or those facilities are all closed. What would you guys recommend? Is it okay to go in gyms, or should we avoid it? Since it's very cold outside, should we go in gyms, or should we just avoid it?
You couldn't pay me any amount of money to go to a gym and wear a mask. Okay. So just avoid.
Dr. Shealy, is that because of the mask, or is it because of the humidity, the sweat, and all the airborne?
It's a combination. It's going to interfere with your oxygenation. That's the number one thing. And frankly, I don't go anywhere. I just don't go if I have to wear a mask.
Just even
Arjun,
in flights, Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not going anywhere where there's a high concentration of people. I mean, literally. And one of the things I was going to tell Dr. Shealy about is we've had 2 members of my extended family who have died 10 days apart of COVID, and we'll talk about that a little later. But I take it pretty seriously, and so you can according to the best information that I've read, you can get it if somebody sneezes on you, you can get it if somebody coughs on you, you can get it from touching the same thing that they just touched, like a shopping cart. You can get it from touching the package they just touched. And if you think about it, one of the highest density places that has recirculated air would be, with the most sweat, would be a gym. Now, if you go to YouTube and you type in Dr. Shealy's bouncing, Bouncing with Dr. Shealy, you can see how you can exercise without going to the gym. That gives you two benefits. One, you're not going to be bathing in all of those airborne toxins, particles, biologicals, and the rest of it in the gym. And the other is you're going to save the money from the gym expense. So I know you know how to do push-ups, and I know you can buy a pull-up bar and stick it in the door jamb and do pull-ups. So you can do sit-ups and pull-ups. Now you've got most of that covered, and you can get a jump rope. Dr. Shealy, anything else that he'd need to do besides a jump rope, pull-ups and sit-ups?
I like bouncing, just standing in place and moving your arms vigorously in a circle on either side, because music conductors live longer than any other profession. So 30 minutes of my morning exercise is standing on a vibe machine, vibrating at anywhere from 20 to 50 cycles per minute up, and while moving my arms vigorously in circles. It's better for the heart even than walking or slow running.
Okay.
And that's something else you can do. Those are a lot of bouncing with Dr. Shealy. It's on YouTube. You can go for a brisk walk, outside, and you can exercise inside. But as Dr. Shealy said, I'm not going to go to a high concentration of places and be immersed in all of that bacteria. Dr. Shealy's in the front of the classroom, D in Illinois. Thank you for patiently waiting for Dr. Shealy.
Hi, Vince. How are you?
Very well. And you?
Well, not so good. First of all, I'm having a little trouble talking today because I'm having some problems swallowing, so please be patient. David has called in and spoke to you and Dr. Shealy both several times about what has been going on with my health in the last year with the thyroid problem and the inflamed lymph nodes under my ears. So in November, I was finally referred to an endocrinologist.
Hello?
I think, Dee, are you there? I see her on the call screen, Dr. Shealy, but I don't hear her. Jason, do you know what's happening with Dee's call? David had called the forum yesterday, and he said that what happens when they make calls, they just get shut down, they get disconnected. He said it's very, very difficult. So let's do this. I am going to, Dee, if you can hear me, I'm going to drop the call, and please call right back in, and we'll put you right back on. So I'm going to drop the call from the call screen and call right back, okay? Thank you, Dee. Okay, so I dropped the call, Dr. Shealy, intentionally, so she'd be able to call right back in. So we don't know the rest of her question, but I did look up Argentin 23, and I found it at their website, ARGENTYN 23, and it's a bioactive silver hydrosol. And Dr. Shealy, is this available at your website?
No, we used to care, but it just didn't sell well enough to keep it.
Okay. And I did find out what their concentration is. It's 23 parts per million. 23 parts per million. And what they say is that their Argentin, ARGENTYN 23, bioactive silver hydrosol, is composed of two things. 99.999% pure silver, which is about I think that's the maximum you can get, and purified water, meeting USP requirements. So you can go to, you can just type in on your DuckDuckGo, DuckDuckGo, ARGENTYN 23, and you'll find lots of sellers of it, and you can find it at ARGENTYN23.com. Dee is back with us. Dee, I had to disconnect you, hoping that you'd be able to get back on with us. I'm glad you're
Well,
back.
I got cut off before you even disconnected me.
Oh, wow.
And we both know why that is, okay?
Yeah, it's your husband.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got an appointment with this endocrinologist that does video appointments. And my appointment was on February 5th, and they ordered a bunch of blood work and an ultrasound. I went and done that a week ago, this past Friday. And I was supposed to have a follow-up appointment. Actually, I did it on the 12th. I'm sorry. And I was supposed to have a follow-up appointment with this endocrinologist on the 17th to get my test results. They called and canceled because their staff was all down sick, and hey, I'm not going in there if their staff was sick for 3 days. Okay? Not going to happen here. So they rescheduled my phone appointment for the 19th. So the 18th, they call me up and they say, we're calling to confirm your appointment, which, okay, cool. And then she says, oh, by the way, before you are allowed to have your test results in your appointment, you will have to prepay us $119.46. I don't have my test results.
Okay. All right. Hold through the break, and we'll get through the rest of your question. Class, Dr. Shealy's with us. His website is normshealy.com, normshealy.com. Dr. Shealy, should someone be in the area and want to come visit you at your clinic or schedule an appointment via video conference, Zoom or Skype, or a telephone conference via telephone, cell phone, or landline, what number should they call?
417-351-5221.
417-351-5. Yeah, 417 is the area code. 351-5221 during normal business hours, Central Time Zone, please, class. And Dr. Shealy, your broadcast can be, if you go to Dr. Shealy's website, normshealy.com, normshealy.com, and you sign up for his newsletter, I believe you'll get an invitation to watch and hear his weekly broadcast with Dr. Sergey Sorin, who is also an MD and ICU doctor and emergency room ICU doctor. And you'll hear both of them talking about health, and you can even call in and ask questions as well. Did I say that right, Dr. Shealy? Go to your website and sign up? Okay. And you'll get the same invitation that I do. And you'll get a chance to see what Dr. Shealy looks like live while he's on the radio for his weekly, hourly radio program. Dee, back to you. You were telling us about your medical adventures. Please continue.
Well, I couldn't afford it. And my insurance through Medicaid is only doing QMB, which means they're only paying my premiums for Medicare. I'm qualified for more, but they never send me the normal renewal application. So I can't renew my benefits or get more benefits because they never send me the document. When I call the number that is supposed to help people in my situation fill out the documentation, they ask me if I have a renewal form. I say no. They say they can't help me. So how do I get my test results? What are my rights as a patient? I've been dealing with this for a year now, and I'm in serious pain.
I don't have an answer for that. I personally gave up the regular insurance mafia in 1995, and I will never go back to it. It's been getting worse since 1965 when government got involved with Medicare. Medical expenses have gone from 4% to 20%, and they're worse than ever.
Dee, is this a doctor's office? Is this a doctor's office or a hospital?
It's a doctor's office that has that the endocrinology is in, and they are under Gateway Regional, which is bought by SIUE, which is the college here, Southern Illinois University of Edwardsville.
Okay. I think if I were in your shoes, I think I would call the president of the college, and I wouldn't be anything other than extremely polite, and say, here's my condition, and I would like you to intercede on my behalf. I'd like to make arrangements for payment, but I can't seem to get the attention of anybody there. But I have a feeling that you could. Would you be inclined to help me, please? I think I would do that.
Right now, the lymph underneath my left ear is so swollen that I have to sleep. The only way I can get to sleep is to get an ice pack that's the size of one of those ketchup packages, and I put a headband around my head and hold it in place below my left ear.
Can you describe your symptoms? Maybe Dr. Shealy can help you on the air. Can you describe your symptoms, please?
The lymph nodes are swollen beyond belief. They have been for a year. The left one is the worst one because that's my weakest side. And sometimes the pain, the swelling is so bad that it pushes on my eardrum and causes piercing pain in my left ear. Finally, the nosebleeds stopped last April, but I was having nosebleeds on a regular basis that would last up to 4 hours. I have had, the migraines have calmed down. My throat, some mornings I wake up and my glands are swollen and I can barely swallow.
Well, there's a very serious inflammatory response, probably some kind of chronic infection, and it does need medical attention.
I have been seeking medical attention for a year. In January of 2020, when this first happened, I went to my primary care doctor, but I had to see her physician's assistant, and she put me on antibiotics for 10 days. That did absolutely nothing for me. I went back a couple of weeks later to my primary care doctor. She ran all kinds of blood work and put me on steroids for, I think, like 5 to 7 days. The blood work showed the thyroid levels, the few that she tested for, were raised. And she tested me for, believe me, everything under the sun aside from that. We called her and argued with her for weeks on end to get more testing done on that blood work. So, because we thought it was the thyroid because I have celiac disease and that's common. Well, she finally stopped arguing with us and tested it, and it showed that we were right. More thyroid levels were raised. That's when she referred me to an endocrinologist, but by that time, we were all on lockdown. So my place of choice was to go over across the river to SLU, but I couldn't go over there, and they were not doing video or phone call appointments. Even though I'm not a new patient at SLU, I am across the river, and I am a new patient in that department. So I kept having to reschedule appointments because it was not safe to go over there. And finally, that's why I gave up and called my primary care doctor back and asked her to refer me to someone on this side of the river that would do video appointments.
Dr. Shealy, any thoughts about...
no advice. This is today's world.
I was going to ask you about the thyroid, Dr. Shealy, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you say that a lot of those tests are inaccurate because of the fluoride in toothpaste, the fluoride in water, etc.?
And water.
Mm-hmm.
City water is poison.
City water with fluoride. Dee, do you have city water, or do you have filtered water? Do you have a filter that filters out the fluoride?
No, we don't have a filter.
Okay.
We're on the township side, so we have city water.
Okay. Dr. Shealy, can you share with her your thoughts about using a thermometer to take the temperature to find out?
Well, if your temperature is below 98.4, you are unequivocally hypo-underthyroid.
Yes, sir. My temperature is 97.6.
Well, you're hypothyroid, seriously hypothyroid, not overthyroid. The blood tests are no use whatsoever.
Thank you for that, because I donated 5 tubes of blood a couple of weeks ago.
Now, let Dr. Shealy tell you when you should take that temperature measurement. That's an oral temperature. And Dr. Shealy, what are the parameters that she should follow for taking that temperature? It's not right from rising out of bed. It's after that. Please share with her your thoughts. Do we lose Dr. Shealy?
After you've been out of bed 3 hours, preferably.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is any time that I take my temperature, that
anytime
my normal temperature is that.
Yeah, well, you're hypothyroid. You do not have active thyroid disease.
Mm-hmm. I also have hot flashes that you wouldn't believe. I can go outside and be cool and comfortable in this winter weather. It's so fantastic. And then when I step in the house, it's like somebody turned my body temperature up 30 or 40 degrees.
How old are you?
Over 50.
Well, that's menopausal. It's not unusual.
No. I did menopause back in 2003. I'm past
Oh, wow.
that.
Okay, so you that was an early menopause.
Yeah.
But it can go on for life once you're menopausal.
Dr. Shealy,
these are quick hot flashes. I can just be turning on water to wash dishes, and I'm fanning myself.
Dr. Shealy, if she's not on any thyroid meds, should she consider thyroid medicine to fix this?
Well, with her other symptoms, I would not be open to prescribing it myself without knowing a lot more, because, if we're treating hypothyroidism and also some kind of infection or inflammatory process, it would be contraindicated in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. So what should she do?
Well, she's got to find a physician who will take care of her under Medicaid. That's not easy.
It's not. But I've never had a doctor tell me that I have to pay the parts that Medicare doesn't cover up front. My understanding is that's illegal.
Why don't you call Medicare? Why don't you call Medicare and ask them, and why don't you call Medicaid and ask them, and if you get no satisfaction, then go the route with the president of the college or university.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you for your help. And Vince, the kitten, is lovely, and he's in a fabulous home, and it's actually a she. They found out the hard way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she's doing great, and we get pictures all the time. But I wanted to tell you that David has some stuff to add about the workout stuff that Arlen brought up.
Mm-hmm.
Is that okay?
Sure. We'll be right back with Dr. Shealy and David from Illinois. Dee, thank you. Thank you for calling in. We'll keep the line open for David to join us. David, we're going into a commercial break right now, and you'll be on as soon as the break is over, okay? Dr. Norm Shealy's with us, normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com. Telephone number for his clinic in Springfield, Mo, is 417-351-5221. 417-351-5221. David, I just wanted to mention something to Dr. Shealy before you make your comments, because I said that I would previously in the broadcast. Dr. Shealy, we have an extended family, and what we're finding out is about a year ago, you could ask, do you know anybody with COVID-19? And most people would say no, but we kept hearing the numbers, climbing every day in the media. Well, in our extended family, not blood, but extended family, and not at our house, a great grandmother, and great grandfather contracted COVID because he had cancer. He was in remission, and he had cancer, and they had one of those visiting nurse type people come to check on them, help them out. And I don't know to what level, but this visiting person would come from the company, and that person brought COVID into their house. And then simultaneously, they had their 3 children who are grandparents themselves. They would spend a week each going to the parents' house to help out. So they would take turns, and all 3 of their children got COVID. One of them is still sick. 2 of them have been hospitalized, and one of their children got COVID and is sick. So all of them have been hospitalized. I believe 2 or 3 of them are still in the hospital, and 2 of them died. The original 2, the great grandparents who were in their, let's say, early to mid 80s, got it. And they, did they have pre-existing health conditions? Well, one of them had the beginnings of hardening of the arteries, if you want to call it that. The other was in cancer remission. So, I guess they were compromised to some extent, but they died within 10 days of each other. And so what I wanted to share with you is, a year ago, we were asking, do you know anybody who has it? And now it looks like it's in almost every family. Any comments, Dr. Shealy?
I have no idea how common it is. I know that none of us here at the office have had it, and we've had lots of patients come in, none of whom have, to my knowledge, developed COVID.
Mm-hmm. So, but would you still say precaution and being careful is
yeah, of course.
The word of the day?
I mean, you don't wallow in manure when you don't know what it is.
Right. Okay, David, I just wanted to share that with Dr. Shealy so that I can tell him that for sure, the obituaries are out there, and within 10 days of each other, these 2 contracted it, and they traced it all the way back to this person from a home health agency. That's not the name of the company, but it's one of those, I'm just using the generic term, home health. They brought it in, and this gal's parents are dead, and she has it as well, and she has been devastated emotionally at the loss of both parents from it within 10 days of each other, and her having it. And, of course, the not being able to see the parents and all of those things that go with this is just a terrible, terrible situation. David, you had some comments about exercise.
Yeah, but I can comment on that real quick. They did, my friends, that says exactly how it was brought into their home, and they lost family members too. That's exactly how it was brought into them. I haven't been able to get a hold of them to check on them. They're not answering their phone, so I don't know how their health is. And
that is a scary sign, David, not answering the phone. I can tell you, Sonny Skidmore, who was in a nursing home, told us on the air when she was talking with us. She was the 90-year-old whose legs were amputated. Mm-hmm. So she's in a nursing home. She said that they come around to check, once or twice a day to check temperatures, and she won't let him in the room. She does not want those people anywhere near her.
I feel her concern. I'll mention one other thing real quick. People may think, well, gee, why can't you pay the bill? Here's the thing about that bill. We asked them ahead of time. So when they said, oh, no, there's going to be no cost, I went ahead and said, well, cool, we don't need this. We're going to go ahead and pay our taxes ahead of time. So after we sent our taxes off for a week because we didn't have nothing, then all of a sudden they come up with this. So you see, that's our frustration with that situation. A little irritating, but
David, I do understand that, and I have a quick comment. What we're finding out today is it doesn't matter what the occupation that a person has. We're finding the incompetence level is staggering. It's concentrated ignorance everywhere we look. Whether you have a guy fix your transmission, whether you have a guy tune up your car, no matter what it is, even balancing tires, we don't seem to have people who know how to do anything anymore, and they don't know what they're doing. And one of the things I wanted to ask Dr. Shealy is, Dr. Shealy, when someone puts on a lab coat and looks like a doctor, appears to be a doctor, that doesn't mean that they're really very good at what they do, does it?
No.
Same with nurses. David, very quickly, you got the floor.
Yeah, one other thing about it is pull-up bar, get one that mounts in the frame. Don't get one that hangs. He could hurt himself. It'll fall.
Okay.
You know.
So don't get the
quick thing is, yeah. And then people that are in the military having kids, wait until you're gone to make sure they didn't contaminate you so us kids don't have to go through it.
As you did?
Yeah, like we are.
David, we'll get you on the air. Send me an email. We'll get you on the air soon, and we can talk about it. Dr. Shealy, thank you so much for your expertise, your wealth of knowledge, and sharing it with us here at USA Prepares.